Town and Centennial Towers in West Bay, and by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. MedLab in Smith Road Plaza, your complete medical laboratory solution. Call 949-7331. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays.
Oh, I think they're doing a great job. A lot of them are.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. Thank you very much for joining us in another terrific Tuesday's edition of Talk Today. I'm on this side. Susan is right there making it happen. And it was a good day so far and getting better because we're going to focus on education. Then 1:30 to 2 with our friends at HSA, we're going to focus on health. You want to know what you can do for your children? An education that gives them, last 4 years of high school process. Ooh, we'll tell you how to do that. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday at candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255.
Courtesy of Flow,
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thanks very much for joining us. And it's really always a pleasure to be able to focus on what I think, and I'll certainly be guided by anyone who's willing to share their wisdom and counsel. What I think are the two pillars in every society. I say it publicly, I say it often because I believe it, and I have not yet been contradicted. A strong, robust health system, and likewise strong, robust education system. And grateful now to have good friends from Cayman International School to share with us, with deference to Mr. Jim. Perhaps we start with Ms. Rita first. Good afternoon. How are you?
Hi. Good, Sterling. How are you?
I used to say I am blessed, and then someone reminded me that too, but you're also highly favored. And that I am. And I'm grateful. I don't share that to make anyone uncomfortable. I share it openly because this is the society in which, presumably, we can still assemble quietly and publicly and share our prayers and our thanks. But if you would allow me, and reflecting on the last discussion, two educators, two very strong, civic-minded individuals who are sharing through education, not just your passion, but the opportunity for more of our young people to benefit from a safe, nurturing education setting, get exposure and experience with other students, perhaps set for them the stage that could be not only a successful career, but an invaluable life lesson and a contribution that could impact generations. And to me, there's no greater gift than being able to give that to someone. So, Mr. Urquhart, as director, welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Sterling. Thanks for having us.
If I might ask, though, it's probably easier for, Ms. Rita to reflect on her high school education than maybe it is for you and I.
Closer to you.
You speak truth.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. We're gentlemen. Our mothers raised us well. But high school was that time when, no matter where you went to school, I have friends and family who's educated here at different schools in different parts of the world. It was always the same thing. You're trying to find your way. You have friends, hopefully to this day, that I have some from primary school, from middle school, from high school, and it is that relationship, those experiences, as it were, not just in the classroom, not just on the football field, not just on the school bus, but during the summers, and you get that, and then you realize that the lessons weren't just on the campus or in the classroom. It just wasn't from the teacher. It may have been under the parent. There were some great things, and there were some things that are perhaps not always as memorable, but it was important for the environment. For CIS, as director, what is it like, and what is it that you would like it to be like, in addition to what it's like?
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I think what it's like and what education is always like, it tends to be messy. You talked about things like appreciation of learning, happiness, long-term friendships, and giving back to society. And there isn't a set recipe to make that happen.
Nope.
If there was, we'd all be doing it. And so appreciation that it's messy. One person's experience will be very different than another person's experience. And so to one of the big challenges, and I think what our school and schools on Island are working toward, is having our children be comfortable with ambiguity and to be able to, our children generally are very good at answering, this is correct, this is incorrect. But we can all do that. That is Googleable. You can enter that in. But what to do when there's more than one right answer, or there's no right answer? There's only a best fit answer. And so what it looks like right now is our kids grapple with that. Our students grapple with that. Certainly our parents do too, as well as our staff. And so what it looks like, in the best possible nature of the word, is that it's messy opportunities to explore, innovate, make mistakes, ideally learn from them, hopefully learn from them sooner than later.
Yeah.
And what we'd like it to look like in the future is all those things, plus the underscoring the importance of kindness, working together, and with our island. And we know that people often go off island in the hope that they will return, maybe not right away, but come back home and appreciate it. So what it looks like in the future is a wonderful group of people who are citizens that we would want to be with, we would want to talk with, we would want to learn from, who come back here too.
It's not contribution from all of us. Ms. Rita Parada, as direct admissions and community affairs, as Mr. Jim was talking about, critical thinkers is probably what we're trying to instill in whatever setting, because we want to be able to assess and analyze. We want to be able to accept certain things but critique it. We want to be able to look at things and say, okay, there are differences, but it doesn't have to divide us, and yet we live in this, we subscribe words, cosmopolitan, melting pot, all these things, but it's that difference that I think not unlike the buffet table, whether it's at the brunch or your grandmother's, and you sit and you go, oh, I want a little bit of that, a little bit of that, and you try it, and there's that wonderful mix.
And I think that's really important. We also recognize that all of our students are going, yes, they live here. Hopefully many of them will come back here, but they're going to go to lots of different places. They have various opportunities to further their education around the world, and we want to set them up for the most success that they can possibly have, whatever their choices and wherever they decide to go, and then bring it back here to the island.
And that's the thing, right? I mean, we look at Cayman, and I always harken back to our seafaring heritage, or whether it was the stories that were told by some of us, our fathers, some were, our fathers' fathers, of the opportunities that were presented to them early days of catboat, going to the Mid-Atlantic Keys and the Turtley, to later on from the 40s and onwards, to with national boat primarily. But even to this day, some will go fishing for an extended, weekend of fishing. Others will just go out for a little bit of pleasure. But that experience of learning together, working, how do you navigate literally to get safely, is very, very akin to how we navigate our education. So to those students who are, say at CIS, who may hopefully be able to afford, venture far afield, gain other education experience, return and contribute, we need to make it receptive to them. And I think that environment we create in the school gives them a grounding that they want to return. Take up a secondment elsewhere, get some expertise and exposure in another jurisdiction, but always want to return to this base, irrespective of their land of birth. what is it then in doing that? Because I think your scholarship offers thus far have enabled more and more of us, at least when we look at the economic models that we follow. Education and healthcare are very expensive.
Yes.
Ignorance, they say, is in bliss, but man, paying for an education is costly.
Right.
So, what are you offering to many?
Yeah, no, that's is that for me?
Yeah, start with you.
No, that's all you mentioned. It's interesting when you said ignorance is bliss, and sometimes, certainly when walking through the mangrove, sometimes I feel that when my mind is empty. Another look at it, and people might say, if we think education and health is expensive, wait until we see what ignorance and disease costs us.
Yeah.
And so I guess your question is, what are the opportunities that present itself with so currently some background, our scholarship program was with 4 students. This past year we expanded to 8, and our aspiration looking to the future is to be able to offer 12 scholarships to our students. Part of that is we know that learning is social, even for those who are introverts. Being together, working on something at the same time, even if it's side by side and not necessarily in front of each other. So we know that having compatriots, people going through a similar experience in the same grade level, it's helpful for those things that we talked about before of belonging, learning together, and to be able to ask those questions. Because maybe seeking back to the notion of the seafarers going away and coming back, we know that some students might go away and their heart is here, but their body someplace else. So, but circling back to what it does offer is looking at 4 years of school, grade 9, 10, 11, and 12, as well as expanding from our current 8 to go to 12 people, and so ideally 3 people in each grade that be able to support. And the support is not just for the tuition, opportunities to travel once per year, maybe with a service team or a sports team or an arts in endeavor. Could be close off island, right here in the Caribbean, or we do have some children heading related to debate and related to sport to Brazil, which is a little bit further afar. And so I think those opportunities of learning beyond classroom is critical.
So when we go ahead, Ms. Rita, if you want to jump in.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think that's what makes this program, the scholarship program that CIS provides, fantastic, is that it doesn't only just give to some of our students the tuition benefits, but for some of them it also affords them those trips for to if they're in Model UN or debate or something like that, and they can then go and participate because CIS does pay for that one school trip a year that they want to,
All right, but when we come back then, let's talk more, because I think many times we don't always appreciate, especially as parents, consciously or unconsciously, we bring our perceptions to the table relative to academics, athletics, the arts, and whether we are trying to live vicariously through our children or whether we are unconsciously fostering our biases. And it doesn't have to be a negative. When we hit a bias, we think it's negative, and then the child is informed. The fact that you expanded, from 4 to 8 now to 12, it speaks to something that I commend you for. So when you come back, let's talk about it. What life is like at CIS, the wonderful facilities that are there, what students, how they would benefit in addition to the travel.
Perfect.
What a perfect time to be a student once again. Yes. All right, join us after the break, and we'll tell you more.
Busy, busy, busy. Feel like there's not just enough hours in the day. Savannah Pharmacy, service to make your life easier. Now you can WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. And pickup is just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. Savannah Pharmacy, wholesome values with modern conveniences.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
When you're craving something big, something tasty that gives you that lip-smacking satisfaction, something that hits the spot, there is nothing better than a footlong from Subway.
It's pretty tasty.
Filling and full of flavor. Try our new sweet onion steak teriyaki with a twist. Or the classic chicken teriyaki. Top it with green pepper, onions, cheese, and that sweet onion teriyaki sauce, all piled on your favorite artisanal bread. Satisfy that craving with a footlong from Subway.
Fresh, delicious, tasty, meaty.
Let's make it a meal with a drink, chips, and cookies. There is nothing better than a footlong from Subway.
It's Tuesday, and you know what that means. It's 2-for-1 Taco Tuesdays. And it's happening all day long at Taco Restaurant and Bar, located in East End and West Bay. Who doesn't love tacos, especially when they're 2-for-1? Featuring specialty tacos like peanut chicken, blackened fish, pulled pork, vegetarian and coconut shrimp, and of course, all of your favorites. Enjoy 2-for-1 tacos and 2-for-1 margaritas every Tuesday at Taco Restaurant and Bar all day long in East End and West Bay.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon, Thank you so much for joining us. And as some of us are thinking, Easter is just around the corner. We've got summer, and then excitedly, August, September starts a new school year. So maybe as a student, potentially, you could be looking at CIS, for your last 4 years of the high school. It may be the last 2 years, or Director Jim Urquhart, together with Miss Rita Imperata as the Admissions and Community Affairs Director, share with us, how to apply, who's eligible. Now, we have this sort of hybrid system came on in the American education and then the British system. And I think American is grades 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, that's the last 4 years. Mm-hmm. If a student came in and they want to have the last 2 years, last 3 years, does it have to be 4? Could it be 1?
That's a great question.
Thanks, Jim, for passing it on.
Yes, normally the high school years are starting in grade 9, which is year 10 in the British system, right? But we definitely highly encourage students who are year 10, year 11 to go ahead and apply for this scholarship. Mm-hmm. What is unique also about CIS is that the last 2 years, while you're also earning the CIS diploma, you can work towards the International Baccalaureate degree program. And so that is a very rigorous last 2 years of your schooling. And many of our students opt to be a part of that. Mm-hmm. And then some choose to take certificates or classes of that. And it really does help prepare students who want to move on into the university life. But if they want to apply, the first step is to go onto the CIS website, which is cis.ky, and there's automatically it comes on that you can apply for this school year. And really what you're doing at that point is you're sending us an inquiry that you're interested in the Caymanian Student Scholarship for high school. Mm-hmm. I receive that email or somebody from my department, and then we just verify that your child is Caymanian. That's the first step. And once we have that, then I assist them through the application process. And they apply just like any other student would apply. There's the application, there's the assessments, then we bring them in for an interview. That part's a little bit different because, then they could have an interview with committee members, and then from there the decision is made.
And this is where I think increasingly more and more, and I say this because I can probably relate to the generation that came in, we tend to not look at the opportunities before us. As maybe others, what is it? You can't see the trees for the forest, or how that saying is go. And so all who are eligible, consider it. You've got a number of spots that you've opened up. The education is inclusive. Our students interacting with each other. The more we build those bridges. Now the IB, I think we're familiar with it in relation to United World College. It's the same IB program.
Correct.
And again, I think some of us will hear, it's academically rigorous. We may feel intimidated, but it's not, what is it? I mean, if I can host a show, anybody can do it, right? So, without a caveman. So we got to be willing to champion it. Right, Jim?
No, absolutely. And I think, yes, the terms like rigor and robustness do come into play, but also opportunities for choice and focusing on areas of interest. So, for example, English isn't necessarily my first language, and I struggle with it, as you can find out right now. But you can choose at which levels and have choice within a different group. So, for example, science, if maybe physics isn't your area of interest, well, maybe you focus on chemistry or biology, or maybe your preferences are in the world of arts. And so you have opportunities in relation to visual arts and music, and hopefully in the future in the theater. So you do have some choice there, aside from making sure that you do have a math, like a first language, math, your science, your social studies. And same if you're looking to the future and your world issues are very important to you, there's flexibility within the schedule where you may be able to take environmental systems and societies and geography. And so there is some flexibility in there where you're able to cater your strengths to the program. Which is important skill for the kids to be able to grapple with. And there's no shortage of opportunities to discuss, even though we see a lot of young people today, their heads might be down looking at it, and they might be sitting around a table and it looks like everybody's looking at they do indeed certainly like to communicate with each other. So things like theory of knowledge, which is analogous in some ways to philosophy of learning. And their extended essay, which is a personal research project, allows for that further depth of understanding of what an individual can do.
I think too, as I look at, and I was introduced to the IB a long time ago, an educated friend, and unfortunately I think sometimes either as parents primarily, but even as sort of the wider society, we approach teaching and learning in a way that is all about what grade. But looking at what I see of the IB, yes, it is engaged and involved, but you come away with a greater perspective on what education is. It's that maybe akin to what we were told way back in classical education. You have more than just a piece of paper with a grade. Right, Ms. Rito?
I agree wholeheartedly. I'm also now putting my parent hat on. Both my girls, as Jim had two children who also sat the IBDP program. Yes, I think it really teaches them how to learn, but also more importantly, the want to learn more, right? So I would find many times that, and even now, both my girls, they learn about something and maybe they have a reading, but then they want to go and expand and find out even more because now that's intrigued them, right? And so it's learning how to actually challenge your own self within your learning.
And that is, we as parents now would appreciate it. Maybe back then our parents were trying to tell us, but whether you go off to some sort of tertiary level institution, whatever program study, when you enter the work world and you're part of the group dynamic, your co-workers working on a team, doesn't matter if you're a sales team, the engineering team, those things that you learned earlier now come into play and they make sense. I think thankfully our children see that perhaps earlier than we did, 1,000 years ago, right, Jim?
Yeah, just 1,000?
I mean, kind of.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they do. In some ways, our children, relative to us, there's some greater sophistication, and there's other areas where there may be naive because of, say, where we live in the Cayman Islands. There is opportunities, and sometimes we might take those opportunities too much to protect our children, and maybe not experience an uncomfortable summer job, or having to, as parents nowadays, maybe we tend to step in a little too quickly when we see a child faltering.
Yeah.
And it's a missed opportunity for that child to learn to advocate for themselves or to manage the so-called bed that they've made.
Yeah.
Because when you think of a child when they're in high school or certainly younger, we want them to gain that experience. So when they're out on their own, as we were sharing before the start, that we're lamenting that our children are grown and not around and making mostly good decisions and some interesting decisions. But we want them when they're on their own to be able to use, the stuff between their ears to make good decisions. And so I think part of education, that part is critical, and that speaks to the partnership component of parents being involved and being comfortable when at times when our children make mistakes, knowing that we've all made mistakes and we're okay.
We're here still, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's the sum of it, and when I think, as Jim was sharing, Ms. Rita, walking through, say, yes, there's the grounds, it's part of it, there's the community perception, but then these are students. They only perhaps come to a space when we sometimes foist on them certain things, and as students, they're all in the same boat. They're learning. They, maybe at different thoughts in the catboat, but they're all in it, and doing different things, experiencing different things. But at the end of the day, hopefully they'll celebrate significant milestones, whether it's the 16th or 18th birthday, whether it's the, and I know parents squirm, it's that first kiss, that first crush, that first disappointment, that grade that was unexpected. Oh, I thought I was going to fail. You mean I got a C?
Right.
Well, work a little harder, you make it a B the next time. It's more than just that thing that happens that day. It's looking back. So when we come back from our break, as we sort of conclude our segment, can you tell us again about one, how to apply, maybe what is involved in it, some of the potential sort of benefits to the crew with being a part of it, and maybe more importantly, am I too old to apply? Cut my hair? Is it too late for me to go back? We're going to tell you about that. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab. Blood test, x-ray, and mammogram, all of that is MedLab. Affordable fees and friendly service, a full professional team. MedLab is always comfortable, MedLab is always clean. For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
The offices of dermatologist Dr. Wayne Porter will be taking appointments from March 6th through 11th at his Crew Road Clinic. Appointment slots are limited. Whether you're seeking advanced skincare, Botox, filler, cosmetic skin enhancements, or simply looking to reduce wrinkles, Dr. Porter offers a full-service dermatology and dermatological surgery practice. For more information, email dr.porterkiman@gmail.com or call 946-9020 to book your appointments today. That is 946-9020.
Attention passengers, the Cayman Airways Panama airfare sale has been extended. In just under 2 hours aboard Cayman Airways, you can explore UNESCO World Heritage Sites and the 8th wonder of the modern world, all within driving distance of a cosmopolitan city. Hurry, book by March 12th to get Panama airfares on sale from just $296 CI round trip. Some conditions apply. Call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to book your Panama getaway.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and special thanks to Ms. Rita Imparata, together with Jim Urquhart, for coming across and reminding us, I think, primarily as parents, that we were students once, and that that love and desire that we have for our children to be safe and nurtured, to excel, will always be with us as parents. And the more that we can give our children the opportunities, the more that we need to draw alongside the partnership. So for these, what's it, 40,000 students now at CS?
Right now it's 992, but next year will be just over 1,000.
Right.
I thought 1,012 and a half.
Yeah.
No, because I'm going to come there at halftime. No, but that's the beautiful part. We're seeing the growing Cayman population. We're seeing more and more offers come on the table relative to what perhaps may be seen as extracurricular activities, but you've managed through your curriculum to integrate them, Ms. Rita. It's not, the selections aren't, well, this, or this. They're all, well, a la carte almost.
I do agree. Like many of our, especially in high school, the students have a lot of different opportunities in choice of their classes, so to speak, and what they would like to take and where their interest lies, and so forth. In middle school, we really firmly believe in exposing them to as many of those opportunities as possible. And so they don't have as much choice because we really want them to experience and try everything, because they don't know yet if they're going to like something or not. It's only through the time that they have in those classes and the experiences do they finally go, oh, wait a second, I do have a love for that, or at least a like, and I didn't even know prior. So,
and that's why I appreciate you introducing students to that, because that initial dislike may one day, in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s even, come back to them and they find a fondness, or that may pass after the first week and go, you know what, I dislike this because my dad or my mom or my uncle or my friend told me, and they find it. So I truly appreciate that you allow your students to be able to test and to try and to see, is it this, is it that, and not have to be limited as we oftentimes do because of scheduling, because of time, because of financial considerations, all valid. But for a child, why should we limit them simply because, well, we can?
No, it's true. Then, of course, and sometimes our children struggle with the paradox of choice.
Yes.
I can, and then from that they learn, okay, I can't do it all, and then they end up making their own decisions, which, of course, of us as parents is a lot easier when your child comes and says, I think I'm going to stop doing this, which is better than a parent than us going, I've been noticing this, you need to stop doing this right now. Of course that takes time, but I think that speaks to as our children learn to critically think
That's
and be more
lesson.
reflective.
Right. That's a teaching lesson right there. The child has looked at maybe 3 instruments over the school year, for instance, and decide, you know what, I wouldn't like one, or in fact, I like this one even better.
Right.
Or a sport, or they might find that it was difficult to do this and that, and they want to do both. They're adept at it. How do they manage? Well, they may choose, well, let me not do this other thing that isn't as. And we don't give our children, I think, sufficient, as Jim said, that latitude to prove that they can do it. Give them credit. And you provide an opportunity there. It's amazing. I think that speaks to why the population has grown significantly. So we can apply very soon. And
yes.
What's the deadline?
Well, for the scholarship, the deadline is going to be, if I'm not mistaken, April 3rd, right? April 3rd, sorry. And but if you're interested in not applying for the scholarship, I mean that, and for younger years, we're continually accepting those applications. But the Caymanian scholarship specifically until April 3rd. And if you go onto the CIS website, all you have to do is you click apply, and then the inquiry, and that's you're inquiring about the scholarship. And then I will get right back to you and just confirm about that your child has Caymanian status, and then we just go from there.
So make your inquiry. I mean, it's
it doesn't hurt, and it's and then from there, the application is exactly the same. We'll need all the same information that we would receive from any other student, from previous report cards, and all that type of stuff. And then the process just continues with the same admissions assessments and those types of things.
Yeah. Now, you did share that it's the IB, I think, from what you shared previously, the last 2 years, 11 and 12.
The last 2 years, that is correct.
The student can, if the student is able, opt to do that, but if they just wish to continue and not do that, is that a choice as well, or they have to do the IB in those last 2 years?
Yeah, that's something that we grapple with quite a bit. Currently, the aspiration is that the scholarship students would do the full IB diploma, as we've seen the opportunities that it presents for them, as well as the preparation that happens. So the aspiration is that they would do the full IB diploma. Naturally, if a student, say, joined us in grade 9 and they're a scholarship student, and for whatever reasons, whether health or family reasons, and maybe they started to falter, we would work with them. But definitely the aspiration is that our scholarship students do the full IB diploma.
And for parents, I mean, our children, they have the capacity, they apply themselves, and the IB, from what we know, I don't think there are very few, if any, universities globally that won't look favorably, probably as or more, from what I gather, than they would at the top SAT scores, top A-level scores. This isn't something that schools look at and go, huh, what's that? No, they look at that and give you first preference from what I gather.
Yeah, certainly the IB diplomas looked very favorably from universities everywhere around the world. For families that might be wondering about time and resources, many of the courses are accepted as a first-year university, and so a student could decrease the amount of time in their tertiary education or their first degree if they choose to do that. Others, they end up having, they may choose to tackle a more robust degree because they've met some requirements, and then they choose, so a child may graduate from their undergrad with a more complex degree because they've been able to meet requirements previously.
And I think that's parents thinking about the financial cost of tertiary education. Not only that, I guess in the American system, credits towards their first year, their first degree. But I gather too, for some students, they get preference with courses because they've done the IB. That course may be reserved for a more senior student. That IB student can come in and say, well, I've proven my mettle. I can take that course, and they may be given preference otherwise, from what I gather. So the benefits you are providing extend beyond grade 12.
That is Correct. They extend beyond, and we're lucky too that our school has a high school academic counselor who really does work with families and the children, specifically the kids, to determine what might be potential places that they're interested in and where they want to go. And so I think that's also so beneficial for us to have.
So the April 3rd.
April 3rd.
Okay, let me see if my math is correct. This is me. No, this is March. No, this is February. No, this is March. And Easter is coming up, not too long from now.
So right before Easter.
Easter Monday is the 10th, all right? So the 3rd would be the Monday before that. So if you go on to Good Friday, you're going too late. Put it that way. So get it in now. Finally, how do they apply again, Ms. Rita? What the initial sort of inquiry?
Go to cis.ky and you automatically can click. There's a box that shows up that says Inquiry Now, and you click that, and then they can just state that they're inquiring about the CIS K-Mannion Scholarship for High School. And somebody from my department will take over from there and lead them through the entire process.
All questions.
And if they're still stuck, they can call us too, the old-fashioned way.
Yep, 945-4664.
That is correct.
You know what? Thank you. And I'm hoping that when the school year starts, you share with us that you've got your applicants.
Absolutely.
And I know the last school year after you won, a number of students who heard it, they applied.
Yes.
They found it to be a lot better than they were expecting. They were expecting the academic vigor, but find it to be rewarding. But again, I think the parents say nothing venture, nothing gain.
Yeah,
that's right.
It doesn't come easy, but you work on it. Thanks again.
No.
And a final thought,
Thank you
Mr.
so
Jim.
much.
Well, we certainly appreciate people's support in getting the word out about the K-Mannion Scholarship Program. And I think I get the final word. No one ever gives me that.
That's why you get it.
I think one thing to remember, we were talking about grade levels. Grade 9, 10, and 11, 12, year 10, 11, 12, 13, or tertiary education. But keeping in mind that education, truly believe, it's when you're in your 50s and 60s and looking back and we're able to keep your health in good order, your relationships, and your soul. And when you look back on those three things, those kind of three pillars, that's what we're actually learning when we're going to school. And we circle back to that after our trappings of maybe worrying about what society wants of us, or finances or expectations from others, but it helps the education where we circle back and look when we're older. How's my health? Do I have good health habits? How's my relationships? Are those in good order? Am I reconciling differences, celebrating good fortunes of family and friends? And is my soul, is it being fed? And am I making a difference in other people's lives? So I think that's the root of education.
I appreciate you sharing it last time. I'm glad you shared it again this time, because our soul, however we defined it, something that we need to make sure we preserve it. So thanks very much, man.
No, thank you, Sterling.
All right.
Thank
Looking
you
forward
so
to chatting
much.
with you, Miss Rita. Have a wonderful time. Thank you for bringing this final gentleman with you. So cis.ky by the 3rd of April, and at least make the inquiry.
Fantastic.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Let's pause. Let's take a break. Come back. We'll have some conversation. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Today's biggest news.
Radio K-Man, your voice, your choice. Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio K-Man's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
The headline news is brought to you by Health Services Authority.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. A senior politician has been arrested this morning and formally charged with 2 counts each of indecent assault and common assault in relation to an incident occurring at a formal event at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel on September 13th, 2022. In international news, 2 of the 4 Americans kidnapped at gunpoint in Mexico last week are dead and 2 are still alive, a Mexican state governor has said. 4 U.S. citizens were kidnapped by armed men on March 3rd while driving into the city of Matamoros, across the border from Texas. They had traveled there for cosmetic surgery, relatives told U.S. media. U.S. officials have yet to confirm the deaths. A Canadian brother and sister born at 22 weeks have been named by Guinness as the world's most premature twins. They were born at 126 days early, overtaking the previous record of 125 days early set in 2018 by twins in the U.S. state of Iowa. If the children had been born even 1 hour earlier than 22 weeks, life-saving measures would not have been attempted by the hospital, Guinness says. A full-term pregnancy is usually 40 weeks, making them 18 weeks premature. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Zollins.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
The headline news are brought to you by Health Services Authority.
When you have a sports or fitness-related injury, trust the expertise of the HSA's Sports and Exercise Medicine Clinic to get you back in the game. Our internationally trained and certified physicians specialize in sports traumatology, sports medicine, pain management, and orthopedic surgery. For treatment of common injuries such as tendonitis, arthritis, tennis elbow, rotator cuff, or knee tears, schedule a consultation with the Sports and Exercise Medicine Clinic at Smith Road Medical Center by calling 949-8600 or visit hsa.ky for more information.
Born September 25th, 1947 at Watering Place, Cayman Brac, Royce Adolphus Dilbert was the firstborn son of Hallen and Grace Dilbert, née Tibbets. Like many of the men of his time, he spent many years at sea. During his breaks from sea life, Mr. Dilbert employed his diverse skill sets. He worked at Alfred Scott's block factory as a mechanic with Eston Scott, and his uncle Bergman Dilbert performed dynamite blasting in Cayman Brac with the late Reverend Lee King, as well as worked at MRCU in Grand Cayman. He was also an entrepreneur selling fruits, cars, and tires, and painted and repaired vehicles. His mechanical skills proved immeasurable when in 1979, working in the Campeche Bank oil field, Mexico, his ship was chartered by Halliburton to supply material to cap the exploratory well which blew out in Mexico's Bay of Campeche. In 1981, he retired from sea and took employment with the Cayman Brac Power and Light Company as chief engineer, where he remained until his retirement in December of 2018.
Due to popular demand, Cayman Airways have extended the Panama sale. Upgrade your summer travel plans with non-stop flights from Grand Cayman to Panama. Panama airfares are now on sale from just $2.96 CI round trip. In less than 2 hours aboard Cayman Airways, you can be in a land where the Caribbean meets the Pacific, where you'll find modern cities, rainforests, and so much more. Book by March 12th. To catch Panama airfares on sale. Other conditions apply. Call 949-2311 or contact your travel agent or visit CaymanAirways.com to book your Panama getaway today.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointments.
Now, more than ever, supporting your immune system is crucial to helping your body fight off illnesses like the common cold, the flu, and COVID-19. At ValueMed Pharmacy on Walkers Road and in Boddentown, we carry all the essential vitamins and minerals to help support your immune system and improve your overall health. Some of our top immunity support picks are vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, elderberry, and quercetin, or the popular 7-in-1 immunity support. Our pharmacists are always on hand to help guide you and answer any questions. Visit ValueMed Pharmacy on Walkers Road or Boddentown. Live happy, live healthy with ValueMed Pharmacy.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you very much for joining us. It is truly a really terrific Tuesday as we invite you to be a part of a discussion. 949-837 and 949-6990. Going to be open line. until 1:30, and then we get a chance to focus with our friends from the HSC. We're going to focus on women's health as we celebrate International Women's Day and the Women's Health Conference, and then World Kidney Day at 2 o'clock. But if the digital clock on the wall is correct, and if 1:30 is 22 minutes and 40 seconds away, thereabouts, we might extend it. So open line, and I'm hoping you're having a good afternoon. I'm hoping you're enjoying the little bit of rain that's outside. I had to go and check. It was raining so hard that I even got my hair wet. So it's going to come down, and as my mama would say, beat down the dust. Even the weeds feel nourished after a rain. For a little bit of lightning, well, I'll introduce some nitrogen into the soil and make the plants and the weeds grow better. All the weeds, even those that you put up and those that you plant deliberately. The weeds are always good. Hey, 949-8037, 949-6990, or toll free with the compliments of Flow, 1-800-534-8255. Hoping you're having a good afternoon. Call us and tell us what will make it better. Call us and tell us what it is that is impeding you from having a good afternoon. It may possibly be that you woke up on the wrong side of the bed. You might be like the princess in the pea, and all of a sudden, no matter how high that mattress was stacked, that little thing is just niggling at you. And it could be. Some of us have discovered a conscience. I mean, you imagine that? Jeez. Well, share with us, because oftentimes, we don't really appreciate what another is feeling, despite what it may be in a apparent smile. And you may see that and say, I need to get some of that too. We may see and know that the smile isn't because there isn't a care or concern, nor any trials or tribulations, but it's because it's a recognition that there's life, and with life there's hope, and with hope and expectation there is potentially a positive opportunity to make a valid and an invaluable contribution. So, what makes you smile? Or what's impeding you? We can listen. We might even be able to offer up some counsel, shed light on an issue, perhaps guide you in the right direction. But the question is, do we have the courage to acknowledge and to share? Not always as easy as many would like us to believe. So 949-8037, 949-8037, 949-6990, or toll free with the compliments of Flow, 1-800-534-TALK. That's the same number you're going to use when you call for the record come tomorrow morning. 1-800-534-8255. So with that in mind, we were having an interesting discussion earlier relative to the unfolding sort of geopolitical, and increasingly we hear now the geoeconomic landscape. Now, I recognize that for some, the former word, geopolitical, may be more familiar than the latter, geoeconomic. Not unlike, the G20, but then if you hear reference to the B20, you go, well, I know the B6 and the B12 and the B vitamins, but what's the B20? Well, again, how much and to what extent are we sufficiently informed? And how much and to what extent do we rely on the quote-unquote media? And even some, the established media, the mainstream media, do we see it as being credible or distrustful? Do we see it as something that is there to inform, or is it there to somehow, create within us the narrative that they've already preconceived to ensure that that's the same picture that we all see? Or is it the social media? Words that almost seem incongruent to some extent. But I ask that to ask of you. When we look at the information that we have before us, when we question, where we're potentially heading as individuals, as a corporate unit or body, but as a country, is it a space and a place that we're seeing safety and stability, a sense of security and sanity and civility, or is it a space where, as many have said, it's a dog-eat-dog world? And why is it? Does it have to be? Now think back to what we desire for our children. And if that's the same thing that we're working towards, should it not be the outcome that we get for ourselves as we age? the bookends we're told about in society, the way we treat our elderly and our young. And in this society, there are many who would question whether we are in fact doing a good job of acknowledging the woes that are being faced by our young and our elderly. It's not insufficient, I think, that societies are able to say, well, we lack a resource, but it's not sufficient that they say, well, we pass laws, we provide certain policies and assistance. The question is it a shared cultural ethos? Is it the norm that you see your elderly and you show deference to them by the way you acknowledge and address them? That you see your children, right? Not only your biological children, but your children in your community, and know that they can, like in a few jurisdictions, get on a train at 5 and 6 years old and leave home and go to school. Now, millions and millions and tens of millions of people in some societies, that can happen. But in ours, with only a few thousand, let's go to the phones. Hey, welcome. Good afternoon. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Dwayne.
How are you today?
Not too bad.
Just one bad?
I was listening to this conversation about education.
Uh-huh.
I've been listening about education and talking for 40 years.
Okay.
You see so many Caymanian children that can't get a job because they can't afford to get a college degree. Including me, that's how I was when I was young. But I still survived. But, you know, every time I think of the song that Bob Marley sings, building schools and universities, graduating murderers and thieves, it rings a bell. You understand? It
Right.
rings a bell.
So tell me now, right? Let's say...
Let me finish.
No, I want you to finish now. I want you to finish. So tell me now.
I was telling you that's why I rings a bell, because every one of us is born with something in us.
Uh-huh.
You understand? And a lot of times you can't do that because you have to go to school to get a certificate to do it. You understand? And what has caused, I believe, has caused a lot of trouble around the world today with corruption and where the world is going, but the end is there, is that, you know, you got children that might have been born to be a yard boy or a fisherman or whatever, a maid, but because their parents had a lot of money, well, I'm going to go to school to be a lawyer or an accountant. And these are the people that create the corruption in these jobs, those that don't have it in them. They go to school to learn it because it's all about money. You understand?
Is that the love of money and the greed?
Not everybody, but a lot of people are that way.
Mm.
That's the way I see it. You understand?
So then,
and remember now, remember now, when the war was created, there was no colleges and universities, and people know about the art. They didn't go to carpet school, you know. So these are some of the things that I look at all the time. There's people with abilities, but they can't get the opportunity because they cannot go to school to get a certificate in a degree on whatever they want to do. They don't need it.
In your view, why can't they go to school?
Because their parents can't afford to send them and can't get a scholarship.
Okay. So how do we address that?
How you address it?
Mm-hmm.
But if somebody goes into a job and wants to be an accountant and it's they don't have a degree, I think the accounting firms should give that person a chance. That's what I think should happen. Give that person a chance.
Okay, so people, I agree with you, people should be given opportunities. But let's say, use your example, the person goes into an accounting firm looking for a job. Should that person come to the table with any level of skill, any sort of demonstrated abilities?
I would think they got to come with some level of skill. That's walking out the dumb end trying to get a job.
Okay.
You know, and I want to talk to you more, but I gotta go. I got some. I gotta pick up. I gotta go.
All right, man. You go right ahead, man. You go right ahead. I know what. Maybe that's one of the challenges we face, as the caller quite evidently, shares. Or we're being pulled in many directions. There are competing demands another time, and perhaps that's a trick of the enemy to keep us so busy that we no longer can think and reason. But he is not necessarily incorrect in that, are we providing opportunities for education and employment and upward mobility? Is it that many of us are not answering a calling, but instead we're looking for a career? Is it that we're seeing the costs to education and to healthcare as impediments to, that thing that otherwise, in the absence of, those costs, would make us a better society. Now, the question that we ask, are we valuing one career choice more than the other? Or do we see the plumber as being more or less important than the surgeon? What about the people, who prepare our meals or bring them to the table or do other similar work? What about the person who is a mechanic or a carpenter? Do we discredit the lawyer, or do we see the value the lawyer has? If we look at many joke books and stand-up comics, we would probably hear a lot of disparaging, commentary about certain professions, including politicians. And yes, I think for some of us, we see politics as a profession, not to serve our country, but to see what we and how we can benefit, sadly, at the expense of our country and our fellow man. And by that I mean human, right? Not just in this jurisdiction or this region. And if the caller, comments can be further extrapolated, are we looking at our society? And when we hear people say we're all in this together, stop the question and go, well, if you're saying that, are we? And, it's a joke many perhaps would laugh at only quietly when they say the problem with life, nobody gets out of it alive, right? The thing is, when we look at what's before us, are we prepared to ensure that we're doing something for the greater good? And sometimes that greater good isn't following the masses. Is it, looking for consensus? It is standing up against, that individual or entity that may be the government, that may be heavily funded and financed, that is able to influence agenda and ensure that voices are heard or voices are silenced. That seemingly is what democracy is supposed to be about. But if we all cover and whimper and run and hide, well, do we really get anywhere? Now, let's take our children. In a classroom with the right setting and the teacher, we would expect the child to be able to voice an opinion, ask questions. But sometimes we see that as disruptive, and sometimes that disruptive behavior has a lot of resources thrown at it at the expense of others. But in other times, we aren't willing to manage that setting in such a way that we give an opportunity for everyone, not necessarily, the equal access. It's sadly not always that way. You got 10 people who are prepared to invest in a company that they can all put 10% in. But one person may have the resource to put 99%, and the other remaining 1% is shared by the 9. Maybe 50% for one and the others. It may be that, you have 10%, and then somehow the remaining, 90% is divided up by the other 9, but not equally. It is, I think, fallacy to believe that just because someone says something that is contrary to the loudest champion in the room, doesn't mean that that thing is necessarily wrong. It doesn't even mean that it has to be right. But if there's an inability and an unwillingness to allow voices to be heard, opinions to be shared, then we question where we are. And it could be the restrictions that are placed sometimes on, us as employees, us as children, us as students, but increasingly us as members of civil society. For those of us who have been part of the armed services, we're told that in signing up, you're going to be told what to do and when to do and how to do it, and this is it, and you accept that. You come to expect it, and you accept it. Then there are those of us in seemingly a civil society in a non-wartime setting would appreciate that those who served and defending freedom and democracy gave their utmost. They gave their absolute lives in many cases to ensure that we have those freedoms. Why do we so quickly give them up? Now you might share, as we've seen in the last couple of years, three in some respects, where under the guise of public health legislation, we have restrictions. We have, the U.S. state of California, which was touted as being so liberal, only now after 3 years lifting its state of emergency, something that should have been perhaps a temporary thing. 2 weeks to flatten the curve, they said, and then 3 centuries later, and we still got people who are mentally and physically and financially debilitated. We take the call, Miss Susan. Welcome. Good afternoon. Thanks for calling.
Hey, Sterling. Hope all is well.
All is well. How about yourself?
Well, as I always say, in it better I couldn't stand it, In it better I couldn't stand it. Even after all your negative talk, but, that's just the way it is.
You thought my comments were negative?
Well, not really. You were touching some spots, I think, talking about things not really changing, We're still in this bond situation, or you want to use the full word, bondage.
Bondage.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what we are. I mean, we just moved from slavery into more of a bondage thing,
Indentured servants.
I promise my paycheck. That's bondage, right? I'm bonded to you for that.
Yeah.
But, talking and thinking about, because really, I think your question will point at, the value of somebody's works, really, because nowadays we find ourselves working harder. Some of us say it's smarter as well. But the goalpost, if you want to call it that, keeps on slipping. And when I'm talking about the goalpost, I'm talking about for Cayman, when we strive to try to do better for ourselves, we obviously have the plan, we get a job, and we work hard, try to save something or at least gain some credit worthiness where we can, again, bond ourselves to some bank or something by borrowing some money and getting a house and bettering our lives. Now, when you look at all the young people that we have coming out of school every year and the amount of people that we constantly import or that migrate here for work, not necessarily, to live, but all of this migration and this work permit system sort of devalues the whole idea. Because think about it, for instance, if I own a business and, you work for me and you're the accountant, you can obviously see my business is making money. You want a raise of pay, and I'm trying to justify why I can't give you a raise of pay, right? In the back where you already know there's not an issue about me paying you more because I'm making more money, but I'm holding you sort of hostage because guess what? If you don't want to take the pay I'm offering you, I can now simply, I'll not use the word download, but I can certainly put in an application for a permit to replace you, and even at a cheaper cost, which will even increase my profits,
Mm-hmm.
And this is the system we live in, right? Because at the end of the day, if you work for some of these companies and you see how much millions and billions they make, the few at the top really get the benefit of it, and they even still complain about it. But all of those on the bottom is just trickling down, and as we always say, that trickle isn't increasing. It still trickles, and all they do on the bottom is add more mouths to feed, so your little trickle has to spread out even more. If you find yourself in a situation like that, if you were to put a moratorium on some of the permits, I'm not saying all of them, but some of them, and I can mention one or two of them that probably need a moratorium on it. But when you put that on it, it will obviously drive up people's value. And the reason I say that, even though you might be qualified enough for that job, I can press you hard enough to try to do that job as best as you can, but now I will have to financially compensate you because now I can't run down the road and tell Sterling's accountant to quit Sterling and come work for me because Sterling can't download or put in a permit for another one. So you're trapped in this old Cayman system where we had to hire Caymanians, right? And that allows some of us Caymanians to have all 2 and 3, 4 jobs because some of the other job places couldn't be filled, so they had to hire us. And we had extra time so we could make extra money. But now you got this permit system coming in. And I mean, for people like me who own businesses, right, I can simply just, got a permit and just look at my Cayman and say, I really don't need you. You're just disposable, just like the system has it. And the system is who has it like that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you go back into some of these sections, and I can bring up one right now, and this one probably touches all of us, and that is the realtors that we have on the island. A lot of the real estate agents, and I'm just going to throw out a guess there, assuming at least about 80% of them are foreigners, right? And at the end of the day, we really do have any guidance as to what the qualifications are other than you doing something that a real estate agent has from their own grouping, because I think if you went down to DCI or any place, they really don't know. And the permit fees for these work permits for real estate agents, and this is what I'm getting at, let's say it's too low. Because if you got real estate agents out there selling properties, making commission, now not all of them, and they're making all this commission more than people like myself who own businesses, right? At the end of the day, I should be making a lump sum, or other people in the so-called higher society. Now, if you take those permits, for example, and you increase those costs for those permits, most real estate companies are not going to take out a permit. They'll be forced more to look Caymanians to train, because that's all it is. It's just like any most of these businesses, you have some skills and you go there and they appoint you. So those are some of the things that need to be addressed. And the reason I brought up the real estate agent one, because we can see them come in, and I had it happen to me, so I can tell you straight and clear, where they say, look, you got this piece of property. Yes, it's valued at $14, $15, $20, whatever, $1,000, but I have someone that would buy it from you right now for $50,000, $80,000. Now, my neighbor next door, who I had previously planned on maybe even selling them the property to better their life, I had no interest in selling them that property no more when I can make 10 times the amount of money promised by this individual. And the value of the property is based on what the person wants to sell it for, as far as I'm concerned, not based on what someone comes and tell you, you know. So when they tell me that they can get 50 for it, my mind says, oh, well, maybe I get 100,000. So the Caymanian is fully out of the picture now, because, you know, they work so hard trying to save up the money. Yes, Mr. Dom, can I buy this piece of land from you? Yeah, I want $10,000. And when they finally hit their 10,000, now I want 50. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't change my mind personally. I wouldn't have changed my mind if the individual hadn't come to me to promise me that they could sell it for much more than its value, right? And these are some of the things that I just brought up, like I said, that are causing a lot of issues. Now, I don't want to just bite on a pile of real estate agents, but I see a lot of Caymanians moving in that area, and I'm quite sure they're finding it very hard to having to compete with all the other people on permits. And if you were to take those permits and block them, and these real estate companies now, either the individual got to work harder himself or hire some Caymanians like he should or she should be doing, you know, that would only benefit us, the Caymanian people. Again, I keep bringing up this one about the temporary driver's license. We have all these people driving on our roads, and I got to bring it up again. And I spoke to Mr. Dwayne Ebanks about this already several times, and I know it wasn't his administration that made the change. It was done in the previous administration. I think Mr. Hugh was in charge of it at the time, and he got rid of the temporary driver's permit. So we got people flying in here. They drive up to, I think, like 6, 7, 8 months or a whole year without having to pay a single cent, right? Not even have to convert their license to Cayman license, so it doesn't cost them anything. Here I am driving, get pulled over for whatever reason, just a quick check. Oh, your license expired. Oh, my birthday, and I forgot I had a birthday. Now I got a $100 ticket. You know what I'm saying? And when that happens, and I look at it and I'm saying, as a Caymanian, I shouldn't even be paying to drive on this road. I feel that every person on a work permit, and I'm not hating on a work permit, feeling right, saying every person that come here on a work permit should be paying a lot more to drive on these roads. So much that I don't have to pay for my driver's license no more. Because these aren't cheap roads that we got here, and no matter where they're coming from, and I'm not being discriminate, I'm just saying that if we can't resolve the traffic problem in the sense of telling them, hey, you can't drive on these roads at all, because I'm not saying that, because government needs to make money. But if you increase these particular rates on these charges, like bring back the temporary driver's license permit, because nobody should be driving on this road for free, right? And if you increase some of these other work permits areas and put a moratorium on them, I believe too as well, like I said, or just increase the charges on them, rather than getting into all this moratorium and stuff, just focus on the money, you know? We can't have people coming here, migrating, working, and then shipping out money, because every day they go down to these places. We got more money going out of Cayman, I believe, than what we got coming in. You know, we bring in these billionaires, and a lot of people fight Mr. Kent Dart and his family for the development. But when you look at it, he brought us opportunity, and obviously, just like everything else, we weren't prepared for it. We see he brought construction. Our forefathers who had little contracting companies, they got kicked right out of the thing. These big companies came in, took out a name here, and took the whole industry over. So these are some of the changes that need to be made. Now, I know we got a million topics we can argue about all day, but I just wanted to bring that up because, you know, the value of a Caymanian need to come back. Caymanians need to awake. They're not asleep as far as I'm concerned, you know. You need to wake up and see what's happening, because that old saying, remember that old joke we had from Mr. Bush years ago? That, you know which Mr. Bush I'm talking about, where he driving into town, a man asked him how long it took to build that building. And he said, well, was it there this morning when I went up? Well, we are in that reality now of that joke that he would make, you know. Because I know many Caymanians who travel town and other places on a regular basis, maybe once a month, they get a little drive out. And when they come out, some of them are literal lost. Remind you of like a Hurricane Ivan time when everybody woke up in the island had looked like a overnight change.
Mm-hmm.
It was so shocking you couldn't accept it to that point, you know. But these, like I said, Sterling, I'm going to hold it up and give somebody else an opportunity, and I'll call back next time, I guess, with more of what I have to say.
Yeah, no time.
But these are some of the changes that can be done right away. I mean, all it takes is a stroke of a pen, and tomorrow morning when we wake up, we will start seeing the ripple effect of that pen stroke. But you see, we don't have no leaders in there that are doing nothing. You know, I'm not saying all of them, but, you know, they'll do something. And somebody sort of hijacks their interest. You know what I'm saying? You get in there. Many of them claim they're going in there. You mentioned early on about a career in politics, but you should have been into politics because it was a call and not really a career in itself. You know?
This is, yeah.
If I want a career, I'll continue doing what I'm doing right now, being an employee to somebody else and having that as a career. But if you feel like your calling is for you to go and be an entrepreneur or be a politician, then let that be the calling. But we got so caught up, and once they get us salary and they get the connections, the next thing, the same people we send in there to defend us and protect us are the same ones just standing by and watching us drift off into the horizon, never to be heard of again. So Sterling, I thank you for your time. Radio came on as well.
Always, man. Always.
Yeah, you have a safe evening.
Thank you, my friend. We'll chat again when you're ready. All right?
Yeah, we will, sir. Thank you.
All the best. All the best. All right, let's pause, take a break. When we come back, our first guest from the Health Services Authority will join us. Guess who it is? Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Ouch! It's hard to expect a good day after a bad night's sleep. Take advantage of Branson's Home Gallery's Sleep Sale. Save up to 40% plus free delivery on Tempur-Pedic and Silly mattresses. Insomnia is bad for your health, so start sleeping better with the Branson's Home Gallery 40% off Sleep Sale. Hurry! Sale ends Saturday, March 11th. Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park. Call 949-5211.
Attention passengers, the Cayman Airways Panama airfare sale has been extended. In just under 2 hours aboard Cayman Airways, you can explore UNESCO World Heritage Sites and the 8th wonder of the modern world, all within driving distance of a cosmopolitan city. Hurry, book by March 12th to get Panama airfares on sale from just $296 CI round trip. Some conditions apply. Call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to book your Panama getaway.
Let me tell you something. I've been fishing our island since I was a boy, and it's getting harder and harder to get a good catch. Maybe it's because there are so many more people in Cayman than ever before. Maybe it's because of how the climate is changing. I don't know about that, but I do know that I want to be able to keep fishing and teach my children to fish one day as well. So it makes sense to me that we have certain areas and certain times of the year to fish for certain things. It feels unfair not to be allowed to fish where my dad taught me to fish, but I know that being patient now means we can keep fishing for many more generations. We're all in this together, right?
For more info, download the Cayman DOE app or visit doe.ky.
Busy. Feel like there's not just enough hours in the day. Savannah Pharmacy, service to make your life easier. Now you can WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. And pickup is just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. Savannah Pharmacy, wholesome values with modern conveniences.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. And thanks very much for joining us. Always a pleasure to have this partnership with the Health Services Authority as we champion not just health care, but hopefully through our discussions we become better informed, more of a public advocate, but also see the career opportunities that exist within health services from our physicians and nurses to all and sundry like. So from Women's Health, Dr. Karina Palmer, good afternoon. Thanks for joining us.
Good afternoon. Happy to be here.
It was a pleasure. Thank you also for bringing along I think the face of the maternity ward. Ms. Rami Fina. Good afternoon, ma'am. How are you?
Good afternoon, Dwayne. Thank you for having me. I'm very well, thank you.
Yeah, she was there when I was being birthed. She was.
Was she?
Ms. Rami? I'll leave her alone for today. But we'll get her to laugh, and I think this is where it's so wonderful to see that continued commitment, dedication. And I do recognize that you have a lot in relation to your schedule, but your patience, and to come and share with us. I want to make good use of your time and hopefully cause our listeners to benefit. We were thinking about the upcoming, sort of Women's Health Conference in particular, but the idea of doing International Women's Day, we can focus on it, the notion that, we can focus on women's health. We have a specific section dedicated to it. I wish mothers and grandmothers and great-grandmothers have had that, but now our daughters can benefit from it.
That's right.
All right, so talk to us, Dr. Palmer. I mean, women's health, in a sense, shouldn't just be something that we bring attention to during Women's Month, but we do. But oftentimes, they're probably a little bit more sensitive for the public to discuss. For some reason, we still have these little quirks and nuances, right now, Charmaine, that we are probably as the male unwilling to acknowledge publicly, and that impact our wives, our daughters, our mothers, our sisters, our wider female society.
Yeah, I mean, definitely women's health issues are, they run the gamut from the obvious maternity, childbirth, but preventative care is a huge thing in terms of cervical cancer screening, HPV vaccinations, and then treating routine gynecological issues, especially things that are very kind of prevalent in the Caribbean, fibroids and all of that. So there's a lot to women's health, and the big thing with women, I think is that tend to put everybody first and everybody before themselves, and it's just a time to focus and bring a spotlight to women's issues, women's health, to make sure that you take care of yourself as well.
And Nashama, at any point do you wish to jump in, please? Because I think tomorrow, being sort of International Women's Day, the idea that we have the Women's Health Conference coming up, we can talk about it. But if we don't ensure that the women in our society understand that they're as, if not more so, deserving of having access, despite economic or physical restrictions, to the level of healthcare, then how does society continue? But how is it continue to nurture? How do we ensure that as people who give almost constantly, as Dr. Palmer shared, that they should be the first to take from the pot, as it were?
It's true. With the Women's Health or International Women's Health Day that happened, it was recognized by the UN in 1975. And for the very reason that you're saying, that women need to know that they are the forefront of everything that happens, equality and equity. It started as almost like a strike. Women's kind of rebelled. They couldn't vote, they couldn't work, they couldn't make extra money, they couldn't go to school. So this movement really launched out in 1979 when the UN recognized that the women had to be part of society because they raised the children, send them to school, be wives, sisters, aunts. So going forward from there, it was recognized over in the United States as well. Now the Caribbean never really celebrated International Women's Day until, kind of on a low scale. But for the Cayman Islands, it really took a forefront when the Women's Health Department at the hospital decided that we had to do something to include the women, to empower them, to educate them. And our stance, we took the stance of health for women to make us recognize that we're not only mothers, but as Dr. Palmer said, that our health was important. So we don't talk about our health issues until it's too late. So that was the forefront of the forum with it here in Cayman. So we've always done health-wise, mental health, spiritual health, physical health, emotional health, everything that would empower women to take care of themselves, to be better wives, better husbands. Better.
Well, sometimes, yeah.
No.
I mean, because, but I'm with
you know
you.
What I mean, yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
So we've concentrated our efforts on women's health, just the health, well-being of women.
And what's interesting, though, Dr. Palmer, is that we look at the Cayman context, and there are many that we are the leaders in certain respects. We may be a relatively small jurisdiction geographically, but in terms of the Caribbean, like say for women's health, we've been very, very front and center. But then if we look at the 21st century and we see globally women and their access to healthcare and education still being restricted, even when there are advances, and I don't only mean in Iraq, sometimes in other Western nations, they're not at the same level of take-up as their male counterparts. In Cayman, we would hope that that's not their issue, but I wonder to what extent we are conscious that it may be unconsciously transpiring.
I mean, I think we are fortunate in Cayman that healthcare for everyone, but healthcare for women is pretty accessible.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously there's always the issues in terms of cost of healthcare, which is a global problem, but by and large, I think it is fairly accessible, and we do pretty well when you compare to the rest of the world.
Okay. So with the this Friday, and I'm paying attention to my calendar,
Yes.
the Women's Health Conference is on this Friday.
Yeah.
Is it for women only? I mean,
It isn't.
Can I identify that? I won't joke. Is it for women only? Tell us about it.
It isn't. So this year marks our 11th annual International Women's Day Conference, and we are very proud to say that. When this began in 2012, I was joking the other day with Dr. Alexander, who's basically, this is her baby.
Yeah.
And joking about what they wanted to call it. And she was saying that, well, you know, somebody suggested calling it the first annual. She's like, annual? This is like a one-time thing. And here we are, 11 conferences later, and it has really grown into something special. It's educational, it's informative, it's fun. And so definitely for women, but it's not only for women. Men are welcome because men have interactions with women, so they can take whatever they learn. They can take whatever they learn to their wives, to their sisters, to their mothers, and share whatever information they learn there. So we invite men and women, everybody.
I try to joke because I laugh and learn that way, but it's important as you share, because even if you are the brother and your sister, you could be the father, your daughter, your spouse, your mother, and sometimes being sensitive to something and be willing to be receptive. It's not just that the woman is going through what we call change of life, right? She may have, this is her first child, and you there as a supporting, doting, considerate partner, but clueless, even in your absolute knowledge and profession. Right, Shami?
Yeah, I think that because the conference is open to men as well, sometimes it's amazing to see the look on the faces of the men.
Yeah.
Based on the different topics, they never knew that.
Yeah.
So it has opened up for them to treat the women with more respect. You get the respect out of them for their wives or their daughters and so on, based on what's being discussed. And the questions sometimes that comes from the audience is usually from the men and not from the women, because they're learning things for the first time. As you said, menopause, how it affects them. Oh, that's why she gets on that way, because of emotional and, or when I have a baby, sometimes, they have to wake up in the night to take care of the baby. Or if they have a pain, they complain about it's just a pain. So it's really educational time for the men as well. And we're hoping that men do turn out, because the topics this year are going to be very eye-opening for them.
Well, tell us about the topics, but also, we said, I jumped ahead and says this Friday. Thanks for telling me that about
It's Friday.
Where and when and how we register, and then tell us the topics.
Right. So it's going to be on this Friday, the 10th of March, at the Marriott Beach Resort, and starting at 7:30 is registration, and the conference goes all day until 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And I mean, we have a packed day. It's grown so dramatically over the years that now we have to have lunchtime sessions, which never happened before, because there's so many presentations and presenters. So the topics include things like emergency management of bleeding in gynecological malignancies, the impact of abortion on the family, and women with heart disease and pregnancy, abdominal pain and the various potential reasons for that. The theme I didn't mention is common and underrated emergency conditions in women's healthcare. So that's what the topics are sort of centralized around. And we're very fortunate to have speakers locally as well as from the region. So we have a really good lineup of topics and presentations.
And not to just single out the focus on what you referenced, the one topic being the impact of abortion, and sometimes we may not recognize that this could be a married couple with or without children who consciously, for different reasons, have opted at that time to consider this as an option for the safety and so on, right? But as a wider community, we're hearing that, and we already focus on that word with understanding the impact. And this is where the attendance at conferences for the women, but for the men, can enlighten us, can get us to appreciate the impact. Right now, Charmaine?
Well, I'm thinking about the abortions. As a nurse, I wouldn't call it abortion in the sense if you're trying to get pregnant, just a term Yeah. But for them, as you said, when women lose a baby or they're trying to conceive, they've lost 1, 2, 3 babies, or there's something wrong with the child in utero and the baby has to be terminated. Yeah. Then when the men listen to these conferences, they're more able to appreciate the impact it has not only on them but also on their wives, also on the health of the wives. So that way it's very enlightening, it's very liberating, because sometimes when I'll say termination, when you hear termination, you hear, oh, this person got rid of a baby, but there are always so many reasons why it's happened. You know? So that is what the conference is about, so just educate us.
When I saw that and understanding the perspective, and I appreciate you helping me to share that with the public, because I think we ascribe connotations to certain words.
Yes.
And again, I don't want to be insensitive, but we, to some extent, when we say miscarriage, it's almost a euphemism. We don't see the impact on the mother, but also the father. The physical as well as the emotional. And it's something that I think this sort of discussion will help us to be more informed. Let us quickly pause. When we come back, a few extra minutes you can share with us about the conference.
Okay.
All right, the course, and again, the location and the time. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
They say variety is the spice of life. And that's why at Subway, we are introducing the new Boneless Hot Sub. Say what? The premium sub brings new ingredients like spicy breaded boneless chicken, French's crispy fried onions, and buffalo wing sauce, bringing a zesty and flavorful experience with every bite. Add some of your favorite veggies, cheese, and ranch sauce of your choice of freshly baked bread for the ultimate boneless hot sub. For a little spice in your life, try the new boneless hot sub from Subway.
So good and tasty.
And make it a meal with a drink and chips or cookies. Subway. Eat fresh.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Water Authority Cayman would like to advise customers on Moonbeam Drive and adjacent roads of planned leak detection work. The works will take place from Tuesday, 6th of March through Thursday, 8th of March. To facilitate the work, customers on the following roads will experience intermittent service interruption between 12 a.m. and 4 a.m. on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Areas include Moonbeam Drive, Barricade Drive, Hemlock Way, Nathan Marin Drive, Chariot Drive, Rodeo Close, Riley Circle, Imperial Way, Brushwood Way, Elderberry Drive, Brookstone Close, Colby Drive, Sugar Plum Close, Roberta Way, Lake Willow Drive, Democracy Drive, Devonshire Drive, Montrose Way, Tridelphia Way, Colesville Way, Star Knees Drive, Anado Close, Pasila Court, Spice Fig Court, and Bodden Subdivision off Hearst Road. The Water Authority wishes to apologize for any inconvenience this may cause and thanks the public for their patience and understanding.
I've got some beautiful clothes. I know just where they go. Puritan Cleaners.
Puritan Cleaners, now using the most popular and eco-friendly cleaning solvents. 2 convenient locations to serve you: Savannah Countryside and Eastern Avenue, Georgetown. drive-through, rain or shine, free pickup, and delivery services available. Call Puritan Cleaners, 949-7104. Also ask about our in-house discounts. Puritan Cleaners, you feel good when you look good.
Puritan Cleaners, 949-7104. That's 949-7104.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back, and thanks for joining us. Thanks to Dr. Palmer and Nurse Fennell for being part of our guests today. It's just fantastic. All right, so women's health. We have a women's health clinic, and I won't try to joke and say I went there for. I'm not going to do that today. I'll leave that for an attempt at another time. But respectfully, for the services of women's health, well, where is it in HSA, and how do we access it, and what's on offer?
So the Women's Health Clinic is located at the main campus of the HSA, and it's housed in the same facility where the Public Health Department used to be. A lot of people would know where that is. So it's the same place where Public Health used to be, and now it's shared by pediatrics, so they've kind of joined the women and children under one roof. And there's a lot of services available at the Women's Health Clinic that maybe a lot of people are not aware of, but as Nurse Charmaine is here, she's the face of maternity, as you said. So maternity, of course, is a big part of the women's services available at the HSA. So antenatal care and postnatal care as well. And then you have family planning clinics. We have on staff as of, was it this year or maybe last year, towards the end of last year, a fetal maternal specialists on staff, so that's a new service that's available at our facility, and common gynecological conditions. So when you're dealing with bleeding issues, fibroids, the whole gamut is what we have. So currently, I believe there's 6 gynecologists on staff at the health services. So pretty good complement of physicians.
Yeah, and I mean, I think sometimes in our own community we don't value what we have that is there, and the competence, without question, the commitment and the compassion, and my female friends who go across, sometimes for the first time they come very surprised. They're very, very comfortable with the maternity aspect, but what are you doing before you give birth is crucial, and I think HSC offers a good complement of services, right, Michelle?
Yes, in maternity ward is extension with the women's health. So women are seen antenatally, and they are seen by midwives. We work in conjunction with the consultants and the obstetricians. But if I were to put it, it's more like a midwifery led with conjunction with the obstetrician. So if you come to the HSA, you will be delivered by a midwife. That will be your primary person, unless there are complications where you need a consultant. So we take care of you from the time you come in till you have the baby and you go home, which is good. Most of the women are opting for that option right now, to be delivered by midwives. And all the midwives we have on the unit are qualified, and I mean the qualifications 10 years and plus. They're qualified midwives. They have those who do breast feeding, lactation, consultation, and different, So it's holistically, we take care of the women and babies. And I'm saying that to say that when you come in, sometimes if you don't know, you say, where is the doctor? Some people don't know that the midwives are as qualified. More so, we are the hands-on persons to deliver babies. So sometimes there's this. So education is good. That's why I'm very happy with those conferences, because we bring that up,
And it's not a fad where we're seeing, people giving birth here and there in this way and that way. It's a practice that going back centuries in a sense.
But for midwives, centuries. In the biblical days, the midwives delivered babies.
I was going to say, I'll say, when I was in school, I learned a lot of everything from the nurses, the midwives. They taught me a lot of stuff, and I met Nurse Charmaine when I was just in high school. Came there.
You see now, it's okay if she alludes to your experience, but I can't. Oh, you see your friends? No, but I thank you both for sharing, because I think we many times will look at people in the scribe today. the doctor, and the doctor will go, well, I really need a nurse because I need to know what's going on. It's a compliment, and maybe as a community, as we become more informed of what is available, it's an amazing place that I don't think to be championed publicly enough. Public and private sector, what we have here for such a relatively small space, and it's makes me proud to be a part of helping to promote it. So all of that, but it's just all the services you describe are just for women, right? I mean,
sorry, we can't.
You can't do much for that. Okay,
we can't see you there.
Well, I'll deliver and pick up. No, but for our women, and I'll be mindful of this. Many times, we have daughters, young daughters, and is it that we should bring them along just like we do for regular checkups? Want to be sensitive and sensible. We don't need to wait until later on. We should perhaps bring them to the clinics. At what age? If you know what I'm trying to ask.
I would say that there's not necessarily a specific age because it kind of depends, right? If a young person is having periods and she's, let's say, 14 and she's having period issues, that would be a time that you could come. Whereas if there's no issues with that specifically, then maybe later, 18 or above, after they've become sexually active. But if everything else is fine, they don't necessarily have to come before that age. So it kind of depends. Yeah,
and I appreciate you helping me to ask that, because I think sometimes, we relegate certain things because of certain reasons, and, your regular GP could work, but don't preclude taking the female member of your household to the specialist at the women's health. Is that the best way to put it, Nashami?
Well, the good thing about it, as you said, with our Women's Health Clinic Center here at HSA, we do have public health nurses you can go to before.
Right.
And public health nurses generalizes, they have a bit of family planning, they could talk to you about your issues, period issues, whatever issues you're having, because they're the ones that you'd go to first in the clinics. And then if anything is wrong, they can refer you. So you can take a young people. If you have an issue and you're not sure, I would suggest you take a public health nurse first before running to a specialist, unless there's something there that you know that you want to be checked out. And the public health nurses does that. I mean, both for young men and women, babies, children, older persons.
Right.
Because they serve the public in what they do, and they're concerned about the health of the public. So
I think sometimes we look at public health and, that's the place you go get your vaccinations. But
no.
They're more than that.
They're more than that.
All right. Well, with the conference on Friday, registration is at 7:30 until 4.
Right, 7:30. So Friday the 10th of March this week, Marriott Beach Resort, starting with registration at 7:30. The conference begins at 8:30 and runs until 4. Like I said, a range of topics, very educational, informational, interesting things. So I think you will definitely go home with something new that you would have learned. And if I may take a minute.
Yes, please.
Have to say that we could not do this conference without the support and help of many sponsors, but there's a lot. I can't mention them all, but specifically we want to give some kind of credit to our title sponsor, which of course is the Health Services Authority. We also have premium sponsors, which would be the Complete Women's and Children's Health. These are a part of the Doctors Hospital and Integra Health. We have a lunchtime sponsor, which is Health City, Cayman Islands, and silver sponsor, which is Baptist Health, and a breakfast sponsor, which is the Ministry of Health and Wellness. And so we are very grateful for their support and could not do this without it.
And again, registration on the day?
Yeah.
Okay.
You could do registration online, but that's closed now just because of capacity.
Yeah.
We've reached capacity, but when you get there in terms of registering and just signing in to be able to claim your educational credits for those who need that, continuing medical education.
Okay. Yeah. Well, perhaps in a future segment we can talk about the conference, what it meant, whether you're able to join us or some of your other colleagues, and hopefully that not just the physicians, not just women, but perhaps particularly maybe some of our mothers and sisters will be able to find this day to be absolutely beneficial to them and recreate themselves with some of the issues that they may have been wanting to ask but weren't quite sure where.
It's true. Hopefully, well, not hopefully. Well, Women's Day is like every 8th of March, so it's ongoing. We've started. This is the 11th conference, annual conference. So hopefully we'll continue the trend and that we get more people involved. And especially now the younger people generation coming up, the younger ones, the teenagers, it would really be beneficial for them if they participated in those conferences.
Yes. Well, thank you, both for your continued service to the health sector. But thanks for coming on and sharing with us.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having us.
Well, trust the conference will be a resounding success. Looking forward to hear more. Well, when we come back, we're going to continue with the partnership. We're going to talk about, World Kidney Day. Dr. Nelson will be one of our guests. Stay tuned.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice. Local, regional, international. This is headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. The Department of Education Services and the Department of Sports present the 2023 Interschool Athletics Competition at the Truman Bodden Sports Complex from March 15th to the 17th for inter-primary sports and again from March 22nd till the 24th for inter-secondary sports. Activities commence at 9 a.m. daily. For more details, email Syriza Bodden at syriza.bodden@gov.ky. In international news, between 20,000 and 30,000 Russian troops have been killed and wounded in the battle for the Ukrainian city of Bakhmut since it began last summer, Western officials say. The epic nature of the battle is out of proportion to Bakhmut's strategic significance, they add. But after more than 6 months of grinding, horrific fighting, the future of Bakhmut still hangs in the balance. Since the fighting began, some 90% of its pre-invasion population has died. 2 people died and 8 were injured in a crush after a concert by rapper Glorilla in Rochester, New York. Police said the crowd began to surge and rush toward the exit, possibly when they thought they had heard gunshots. However, there was no evidence to support a shooting having occurred, Rochester Police Lieutenant Nicholas Adams told ABC News. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
Ro Variety, centrally located in Tropical Plaza on Smith Road, carrying a wide range of household items, bathroom accessories, towels, clocks, handbags, clothes, shoes, jewelry, and more, and more, and more. You can buy from the big box retailers or support local. The better deals come from shopping local. Ro Variety Store, Tropical Plaza, Smith Road. Telephone 924-9553.
Between the traffic, the meetings, kids' activities, there just isn't enough time. Best Health Pharmacy was a game changer. Not only are they centrally located on Eastern Avenue, but they deliver prescriptions for free anywhere in Georgetown and West Bay. I could not believe it. When my prescription ran out, they ran it back to me. Best Health Pharmacy, located at Crown Square Plaza on Eastern Avenue, across from Edie's Decor, offering free prescription delivery anywhere in Georgetown and West Bay. Call 949-1301 or WhatsApp your prescription to 924-5358. Best Health Pharmacy. Your health, your convenience is their priority.
From boat days to beach gatherings, leave the catering to Subway. Choose from small and large sandwich platters, double meat wrap platters, and top it off with optional cookie platters for dessert. Or ask about our Subway box to go with the option of 6-inch or foot-long sandwich, 1 cookie, and 1 bag of chips for all occasions and celebrations. Let Subway focus on the food so you can focus on the fun. Visit subway.ky for catering options. Subway. Eat fresh.
Radio Cayman News.
Concerns last night's public meeting about the East-West Arterial extension.
If there can be a solution found that is less damaging to our central mangrove wetland system.
Several of the roundabouts will be skirting the mangrove.
It has to be more valuable to our country to protect it than to go build a road in there.
I really think for the first meeting it was really good.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice for today's biggest news.
Talk today. But I do have some questions.
Talk today. Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us. And as we invite, encourage, and hopefully, through this, get more of us interested in career and health services. Glad to be able to continue this partnership. And as we celebrate World Kidney Day, I have a chance to speak to Dr. Nelson and Nurse Manager over at the dialysis unit, Nurse Orlando McLeod. Dr. Nelson, how are you, sir?
I'm good. Thank you, Dwayne, for having us again.
Always a pleasure. I sometimes when I look at the calendar, realize how quickly time flies, because it seems like necessarily it was only yesterday that you were in here chatting with us. So good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having us.
I think sometimes when we look at our bodies and we probably know, for the most part, we've got one heart. Some of us question whether we do or not. We probably have a brain, whether we use it or not. And then we ask, well, how many kidneys do we have? Lungs, liver, different bits and pieces. Such an attempt at a joke, Dr. Nelson, but the kidneys are pretty important, huh?
Very, very important. The kidneys, we consider, amazing organs that do a lot of, body work to keep us, in the right environment for the cells to function maximally. Most of us are born with 2 kidneys, but some others, either have 1 kidney either because 1 kidney failed to develop, or they lost 1 for various reasons, including removal as a result of cancer or stone or recurrent infection.
So you could lose a kidney because of a kidney stone, potentially. Right? And I think sometimes I wonder to what extent we generally take our health and our organs for granted, and we're functioning, we're okay. So as we talk about World Kidney Day and what it is, maybe could I just ask initially, all of us, are our kidneys a normal, healthy kidney? Are they all roughly the same size? No matter if we're, 7'6" basketball player or the height of Diego Maradona.
They are, supposed to be the same size, but it's not always exact. The difference is, minimal.
Right.
Yeah. So it's supposed to be, the size of your clenched feet. Hand rather, and like you said, they work 24/7, and we do not know it, and as a result, we take it for granted. But it is when they become, disease. Unfortunately, in early stages, there may not be any symptom. People may not know. And there lies the danger because, and that's what we call a kidney disease, silent killers. Because, by the time you realize it, significant amount of your kidney function has gone. Okay, so that's why, we talk about World Kidney Day in order to raise awareness about kidney diseases. Not only to the public, but also to healthcare workers who are not in the nephrology community, to be more alert to making sure that their patient kidneys, they look into it from time to time. Because I have seen patients coming in kidney failure, and maybe they have not had a test, for the past 3-4 years. Even though they have been seeing, regular physicians. So it is important, not just for the public, but also for other healthcare workers to know.
And I really appreciate that you know, as we talk about World Kidney Day, it's important to be able to highlight that. And consciously, very deliberately asking some specific questions, because I think oftentimes we take for granted that we know, and for some, we realize, I don't know. So when I asked about the size of the kidneys, I did that earlier with some people, and they thought, yeah, I would imagine so. No, maybe not. The big guy will have a bigger kidney, but a normal, healthy kidney. So we'll ask about the abnormal kidney. But you reference pain initially. Some of us would be holding somewhere in the back and say, oh, my kidneys. So 2 questions. In relation to where the body, and the kidneys are positioned, where is that? Under armpits, back of a neck?
The kidneys are located, at the back of your abdomen, just below the rib cage. Yeah, that's where they are located. And so most often when you have, for instance, kidney stone or kidney infection, you may have pain in your flanks. Because that's where the kidneys are located, just below. They are behind the belly. We call it retroperitoneal. In other words, they are behind the belly, but just at the back, below your waistline. Okay. So.
And you reference, disease. Some of us think kidneys, we think diabetes. So is that the only issue relative to the kidneys when we talk about kidney disease?
No. There are a lot of reasons, why you have kidney disease. In kidney disease, we're talking about 2 things. We're looking at the function of the kidney as well as the structure of the kidney. The function, essentially, the kidneys are filters that filter our blood and remove all the impurity that our body produces, we do not need, along with excess water. So along with excess water. So when you have kidney reduced filtration rate, that is kidney problem. On the structure side, if you have leakage of albumin in the urine, if you have abnormal imaging, when the kidneys are imaged and they have, for instance, there are people who have what you call polycystic kidney, that we consider also kidney disease. And this have to be present for about 3 months before we say that the person has chronic kidney disease. And not just one measurement, serial measurement to determine that. All right? So like you were saying, it's not just diabetes. Patients who have hypertension, patients who are elderly, patients who have a family history of chronic kidney disease, patients who, in women as well, women are more prone to kidney disease than, if you are black, you are more likely to have kidney disease than a white person, for instance. So all those may predispose you to kidney disease, all right?
And I think, as we become increasingly better informed and maybe pay attention, naturally from that perspective, we see the dialysis unit. We have friends and family, some who are listening themselves on the go, but for the wider public, I don't know if there's an appreciation to the great extent as to what is involved, how that impacts people's lives. As we talk about World Kidney Day, share with us relative to dialysis if you wish.
Our dialysis unit is the primary service for dialysis on island. We service and we dialyze patients with kidney disease on hemodialysis treatment. We usually do 33 to 35 patients a day. We also accommodate patients who has emergencies, patients who come in on island to visit us. And as a primary service on the island, we ensure our patients are well dialyzed, taken care of. Usually a patient on dialysis have a lot of restrictions, especially nutrition-wise, because they cannot eat and drink the amount that they should want or they want. So patients on dialysis, sometimes they become social affected. So as a part of the dialysis thing, we ensure our patients are well taken care of, monitor. We do blood tests on them to check. In this occasion, every year we try to ensure to raise awareness to the public to know the symptoms. We do a free health screening every year. This year will be done on March 9th between 7:30 to 12:30. We will also have the presence of the doctor, presence of nutritionists, presence of the other healthcare workers from the dialysis team to ensure education is there for the patients to be aware. So any abnormal results, normally the doctor review them, guide them. Maybe they will be sending to get an appointment to see the doctor if it's needed. We also check cholesterol. Obesity is another risk factor for chronic kidney disease, along with high blood pressure, non-compliance. Sometimes patients or persons have high blood pressure. Doctor prescribe medications, and they just take it for granted. Don't take the medications. And those things, a long term, affect the kidney function and destroy the kidney function. And that's why become a silent killer, because you're not aware, you don't know what's happening. Sometimes patients go to see the doctor, how Dr. Nelson say, and the doctor don't have no check on the kidney function, don't check on that renal panel for the patient, and eventually when that is being detected is far progressive, and that also can affect the health of the person. So with this screening every year, we try to raise awareness as much as possible to ensure patients and the public is aware what are the symptoms, what we are looking for, the high blood pressure, the obesity, the risk factors, things that can contribute into the kidney disease on island, to reduce that and prevent it. Things, nutritional wise, what you're supposed to be eating, healthy eating habits to prevent obesity, to prevent the disease progression. So things like that is what we are looking forward and celebrate worldwide with all the institutions worldwide, to raise awareness regarding kidney disease.
And as I listen to you, I'm recognizing that you shared, sometimes up to 75 patients a day on dialysis. If it's okay to ask you for us to better understand, dialysis could be the whole day, half a day, so that we start to be more conscious of not only asking, as Dr. Nelson said, our physicians, to look after our kidneys. We come in to check one thing, but don't ignore that renal panel. But also as a wider society to be more sensitive that person on dialysis, they're not sitting there at a spa. This is so. Could you help us?
Yes, dialysis treatment is a modality for treatment with persons who have kidney failure. Usually, doctors, after review patient's lab, he decide how many hours of treatment patient will be doing, and also the schedule. Usually, is 3 times a week. So it's not something pleasant that the person come and sit down and have treatment. Mostly is for 4 hours time. Every other day, the patient will be coming to have this treatment that will sustain his life until transplant, if it's available.
Yeah, and as you shared, and Dr. Nelson, this will affect travel, mobility, quality of life, foods, just even activities. If I could, there seems to be a perception among some of us that kidney disease, diabetes, too much sweets and sugar and these things. Is that more a myth? Is there any truth to that, Dr. Nelson?
Well, let me step back a little bit,
please.
The major aim of this World Kidney Day is to raise awareness of chronic kidney disease for two reasons. One, so that people become aware of their kidneys. Before this, there was what we call high level of kidney illiteracy. Two, early detection offers a chance to intervene early. Early intervention may actually, in some cases, reverse the chronic kidney disease. If it doesn't reverse it, it will slow the rate at which the kidney disease goes down. So the main aim is to reduce the traffic coming to dialysis unit, okay, and reduce patient getting more transplant. For instance, when you have your feet swollen, it could be as a result of kidney disease. And if you don't know to check for protein in the urine, if you detect protein in the urine and we quantify the urine, we might, do kidney, depending on your history, we take full history to find out what may be predisposing you to this. And in some cases may require what we call kidney biopsy. And that will tell us whether this patient will benefit from treatment or not. And I've had a lot of patients we treated that way and their kidney function resolved completely. So early detection is key to, preventing chronic kidney disease and its progression. In terms of, unfortunately, the chronic kidney disease has two pathways. Pathway one is progression to end stage kidney or to kidney failure. The other one is early mortality. Because, more people succumb to it than reach dialysis or transplant. So if we detect it, we also work not only to slow the pace of progression, but also to reduce other factors, risk factors that may, impact on your cardiovascular health, because it is 50% of patients who have chronic kidney disease die from cardiovascular disease, stroke or heart attack. So we look at other, holistic aspects. Your blood pressure, your sugar, your cholesterol, your diet, your, physical activity. And we try to encourage you to do all those in order to reduce other, to reduce the impact of chronic kidney disease on patients' life. And once, unfortunately, if you get to the stage where you require dialysis, it might affect your whole disease. First of all, you have to go come every 2 days for dialysis. If you're on hemodialysis, if you're on peritoneal dialysis, that you can do at home. All right, but the buy-in of that is the uptake of that is too low here. All right, not a lot of people don't pick it up. Now, like you talked about travel before you travel, we have to make arrangement to make sure you're gonna get your dialysis somewhere. It wouldn't prevent you from traveling, but prior arrangement has to be made so that wherever you go on vacation, we find a dialysis unit where you can get your dialysis. Just like people who are visitors coming to Cayman. Before they come, they have to contact the dialysis unit through their dialysis center. An arrangement is made, what are requirements, they send it, and we approve, for them to have dialysis or not.
Yeah.
All right, so,
you just don't pick up a flight and go.
Yeah,
right?
you can't just pick up and go.
I do recognize the time, and I certainly respect that you have to get back. But if I may ask, I think, as you shared, both you shared, the more information, education, and awareness that we have of our kidneys and its health and its functioning, the better we can, my words, adopt healthy lifestyle practices, exercise or diet. But Dr. Nelson, at the outset you referenced potential losing a kidney because of kidney stones. And with great respect, some of us would, kidney stone, it's just a bit of, uncomfort, but whichever. That may be the case. But are there particular things that when it comes to, say, kidney stones that may be indicative of potential other things?
No, not really. If you have a recurrent kidney stone, we have had patients who have recurrent kidney stone. The stone is so big that it blocks the flow of urine, from the kidney to the bladder. And what that does is to put pressure on the kidney, back pressure on the kidney. If that obstruction is not relieved early enough, if it is there for a long time, it will eventually damage the kidney, and the kidney will lose its function. And patients have had what we call nephrectomy, removal of kidney because of kidney stone. So it is a risk factor for losing your stone. Luckily, if one kidney is working, then you may not require treatment for kidney failure, because one kidney will be able to cope. As you know, people take one kidney and give to a family or a friend and still function, okay. But if you have recurrent stone, you have to be very careful in terms of your diet, in terms of exercise, in terms of, how much water you drink in order to keep the kidney flushed. But there are people who are, predisposed, either genetically or from the diet, to having recurrent strokes, okay?
And with that, then, as we revisit what you shared earlier, going to a primary care physician or GP and checking out protein in the urine, are there particular things that we should ensure as we do the blood work, the urine test, that are there, that are being tested for, and then when the results come back, do we act specifically? Because many of us just say, the doctor says to us, she says, oh, it's all good, and we just walk out, we don't ask any questions. So,
yeah, I think, every patient should, ask his or her physician, how are my kidneys doing?
Okay.
How are my kidneys doing? And the doctor should, take time to explain what is going on with kidneys. For instance, these days when we do blood works, other blood work, what we call metabolic panel, there is in the system where they generate, automatically your kidney function, what we call glomerular filtration rate. And if it's below 60, that is, troubling. If it's persistently below that, whether you have protein in the urine or not, that is chronic kidney disease. If you've gone more than it. It is important to know that because, one, doctors need to adjust medication that you take based on your kidney function. There are certain medications that you should not take once your even those who have normal kidney function. You have to be mindful of over-the-counter medication, for especially medication for pain. They may not be friendly to the kidney. You have to be mindful of herbal medications. They may not also be, friendly with the kidneys. So knowing that your kidney is okay helps you in terms of what medication you take. But as I said, even when they are okay, you don't take all this pain medication for a long time. If you take it for a long time, maybe you have arthritis, somebody put you on Acoxia, and you're on Acoxia every day, over the next 1 or 2 months, it might actually cause kidney damage. All right? So, and that's why you need to know when you're on those medications, when you have high blood pressure, you have diabetes, regularly when you go to your physician, you need to ask for your kidney function. Okay?
Well, I appreciate you sharing that, and hopefully as we talk about World Kidney Day now, naturally you referencing on Thursday, 7:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. in the atrium.
Yes.
You'll be celebrating World Kidney Day at HSA. People come by and learn more, but also get some blood pressure and other information.
Yes, we are planning to check on the blood pressure, the cholesterol, the glucose, the weight and the height. And then any abnormal results will be addressed with the doctor on site and the nutritionist. Also, we will provide education to the public regarding kidney disease, symptoms, risk factors, and to prevent and raise awareness.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for coming in. Thank you for you do. And we know the dialysis patients are truly being served with utmost care and compassion. But Dr. Nelson, thanks again, sir.
Thank you for having us.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, World Kidney Day, and Thursday, make your way at the HSC from 7:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. All right. That's it for today. Join me start in the morning for the record and come back for Talk Today right after the midday news. Be well, my friends. Be blessed and be highly favored.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. MedLab in Smith Road Plaza, your complete medical laboratory solution. Call 949-7331. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays.
Is where tradition never dies. This is your radio, Cayman.